Hey there, I'm Sandy Anastasi, psychic channel and astrologer and intuitive life coach. I'm stopping by because somebody recently asked me how I came to teach psychic development. How did it all get started? And why, some 40 years later, am I still teaching psychic development? And all that question was a deep one. It really got me to thinking. Folks, a lot of people don't know this about me, but the reason that I started teaching psychic development to begin with is because of my own life experiences. I was a safety engineer. I was married. I knew about psychic things. I had dabbled in this and that, but not anything really seriously. I didn't see myself as a professional psychic by any means, all the way back then. But I began to experience things in my life that couldn't be explained. I would hear people's thoughts. I would have a tremendous emotional surge about something, and a few minutes later, I'd see the person that was projecting that emotion at me acting on it. And I'd think to myself, wow, am I being telepathic? Am I being empathic? Now, back then, 40 years ago, these words weren't commonly tossed about the way they are today. So, as you can imagine, I was a little bit at a loss. I was feeling literally the energy around people. I would put my hand towards them and I'd feel a sense of resistance around their body that was actually their aura, I learned later on. But back when I was first experiencing these things, there were no books, there were no teachers, there was no place to go and learn. And those were only a few of the things. I was leaving my body when I slept and looking down at myself. That's astral projection. We know that now. I was having dreams that a week or two later manifested. I was having all these things happen to me, in other words, that didn't make sense. I was hearing the voices of people who weren't present or who were past. It was a very interesting time in my life. And being the very intellectual person that I was and the scientifically minded person that I was denying that these things could be happening to me. But also, because of my very mental, very intellectual way of looking at things, I felt like I had to understand them. So I began to research. That's why I know there was so little material available back then, unless you were able to find a mentor or were lucky enough to have a psychic friend, which I did actually have a good psychic friend. You really had trouble learning these things. So when I finally got past the idea of, no, Sandy, you're not going crazy, this is really happening, it's real. When I finally got past that and began to do my studies and realized that, wow, this is real, but there's no real documentation on it right now, other than all the old wives' tales and things perhaps that you could learn by studying Wicca or the Rosicrucians. It was hard to find the information that I needed. And so in my own research to find out what was going on for me, I built my first classes. And what began to happen is that people began to come to me because I started to do readings. And people would come to me and they'd say, Sandy, I'm having this experience. I'm being overwhelmed by the emotions of other people. I know I'm picking up thoughts from people, but I feel like they're mine. How do I tell the difference? How do I make my mind up when I'm being attacked, it feels like, by so many different perceptions and so much energy that it sometimes makes me freeze and I'm unable to act. I had people, real people, just like you, coming to me and identifying, just as I had, that they had all of these psychic abilities that they didn't know how to control. They didn't know what they were. They didn't know if they were going crazy or if this was a real part of them that they had never just identified. And so I began to teach them. And I began to teach them in small groups of 5 or 6 people at a time. By the time we got into the early 1980s, and John Edward, who is now a very, very famous and well-known psychic medium, he's a good friend, and when he first came into my classes at 15 years old, he was very young. By that time, I had already been teaching for several years, and he was able to learn what I had to teach, and then to take it further and go out and develop it into something which he was able to put on TV. And there was a time when he was on live TV every night of the week. He still today does readings and events. I'm very proud of him. The thing is that my student spread the word throughout the world. I've written a lot of books in psychic development. John has written even more books. His books are about mostly his experiences in doing readings. And word got out that Sandy Anastasi teaches psychic development. I developed a system of psychic development. There are levels. Level 1 teaches you how to meditate. It teaches you how to find stillness in yourself. It teaches you how to become totally centered and balanced so that you can hear the voice of your higher self and your guides. It teaches you how to utilize and control telepathy and empathy. Level 1 is pretty amazing. It's the foundation of everything you need in the entire psychic field. Level 2 is about energy. How to feel auras, how to see auras, how to read the energy that your emotions are feeding to you. It's all about the world of psychic energy. And it's in level 2 that we really begin to get totally focused and start to actually be able to consciously and with control read for both ourselves and other people. Level 3 I call tools and toys. We learn to use crystal balls and pendulums and to astral travel. I just call it the fun stuff. It's almost a break because it's developing our skills using tools that maybe we never even thought about using, but it's just a lot of fun to employ our newly learned psychic skills in all these different ways. If you are already an astrologer or already a tarot reader or already working with a divinational tool of any kind, runes, numerology, levels 1, 2, and 3 are going to enhance everything that you are already doing. It's going to take your reading abilities from here and lift them all the way up to what they're potentially capable of being. Level 4 is where I bring in channeling, where we connect with our guides and bring information straight through from a higher level. Level 4 also teaches the beginnings of psychic mediumship, where we speak with dead people, people who've passed. Level 5 goes deeper into spirit communication and really works on developing and practicing and understanding and being able to turn it off and turn it on and control that skill of reading people distance and also reading people who've passed on. Level 6 is about healing. It's amazing that the loss of somebody can create so much hurt and pain both here and on the other side. Both you and the person who's deceased are in pain. And in level 6, you learn that death is nothing but a veil, and it's not so hard to reach across. You learn to work and connect with people on the other side. Folks, you can do this. Anybody can. The veil in our world, between our world and the next, it gets thinner every single year. More and more people are waking up to their own psychic abilities right now. What I'm doing in my classes is not teaching you something new. It's uncovering what is already there. I'm teaching you to use skills that are inborn in you, that are now waking up. And for those of you who already have that awakening happen, I'm teaching you how to control them so that your psychic skills, your psychic abilities don't control you. Are you so empathic that in a crisis situation you freeze and cannot function? Let me help you to work through that. Let me help you to control your abilities, to turn them on and turn them off. There's a time and a place to use everything. There's also a Seeing Beyond the Veil class that's an additional class to all 6 of those levels. And the Seeing Beyond the Veil class really explains the construction of the unseen world around us. It's not a religious class, and yet at the end of that class, I almost guarantee that you and your God will have a much better relationship than you do now. Folks, thanks so much for taking this couple of moments to listen to me give this overview. As I said, I was asked by somebody, why did I get involved? Why do I still teach it? I got involved because I had to. I didn't have a choice. I still teach it some 40 years later because I have to. For you. Because you and so many other people just like you really, really need it. Thanks so much. Visit me on my website. I'm at www.sandyanastasi.com. And while you're there, I hope you're going to sign up for this year's Psychic Development Series. It begins on January 25th. I only run this once a year. So now's your time. Make 23 super special. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.